Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, and welcome back to the Baseball Head. Hopefully you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. We're in the beginning process of the off season. And, you learn a lot of stuff when your team is bad or you have a bad finish. And we learned some stuff. I came across this just in the last few minutes, and I thought it was interesting to talk about. This was on a live stream on YouTube. Former Met Adam Ottavino, who was a pain in the ass to watch when he pitched, because the guy was like a nervous Nelly. The bigger the game, the more he would walk the ballpark and get nervous and scared shitless. We saw in Game 2 against the NL wildcard game against wildcard series against the Padres. He was walking the ballpark in the ninth inning when Buck Showalter brought him in to finish out the game. It's also, of course, Jake DeGrom's final game as a Met on the mound. But the thing about Adam Ottavino, he does not have a lot of credibility if you're a fan of any team, because he drives you crazy. If you look on the surface, the numbers look fine. But if you pay attention closely, he was a guy that drove you crazy. Now, he didn't have any injuries. This is about injuries, this video. But it's a guy, he's a bit of a politician. He's a bit of a guy that he's let everybody know he wants to be in broadcasting. He's been on SNY. He's been on the MLB Network. And I watched this live stream after he talked about this. I have the transcript here. He is boring to listen to. And he knows it. I saw that his channel's got over 8,000 subscribers. His subscriber base there is based just off of the resume. Because the way he sort of says this in this video, you would think he'd be fired up. I have more energy than he does. He's Low Energy Adam. Low Energy Adam. I think that'd be his name. Low Energy Adam on the outside. And the inside, scared shitless about going into the ninth thing in a big game. But he was complaining about Carlos Mendoza, Mets manager. Now, on the one hand, he knows that Mendoza is very vulnerable, because Mendoza had his entire staff sent out of here. His whole entire coaching staff has been replaced. The Mets, and there's all kinds of talk, the Mets are considering making massive changes to the everyday lineup, to the pitching staff. They're going to get rid of as many people as they can. And we're going to have a very different team. They're going to have a team next year, but they're going to have a very different team. And so he knows that Mendoza is very vulnerable. He also knows the Met fans on bounds are very spastic and will feed off of this very well. Like I said, nobody watches this channel. I've seen the videos. He barely has 200 views. I get more views on here. And I haven't been doing that much here, to be honest with you. But he is he's not one of my favorite Mets. We'll leave it at that. But let me read you what he had to say about what happened this past year, and I'll sort of refute some of this nonsense. Quote, and then this is the other issue, and this is something that really upsets me deep in my soul. Now, this is without any feeling. He's doing this live stream by himself, and he's got no passion, nothing. Sort of like talking to a robot. One of these AI robots that Elon Musk has more passion than Adam Ottavino talking about this stuff. And this is the other issue, and this is something that really upsets me deep in my soul, because, man, I've talked with every single one of these guys about having to take control of their own career, because the team is not going to keep them healthy. They need to find a way to keep themselves healthy. Now, I'm going to read this. This is very interesting. Makes me wonder if some of the Met players have been complaining. And that also has a lot to do with a lot of stuff goes on in the clubhouse, and you wonder when players start doing this on a full scale level, that there's major problems in the clubhouse. And I think we kind of felt that happened. McGill goes down. I would mention about Tyler McGill. He will pitch well, then he gets hurt. Well, actually pitches well, doesn't pitch well, then he gets hurt. That's been his pattern since 2021, 22, 23, 20, his whole career. Reed Garrett goes down. Garrett got hurt for the last 2 years. Max Kranick goes down. Now, Kranick's had injuries in the past. Daniel Nunez goes down. Danny Young goes down. All Tommy Johns. Not to mention Drew Smith. Now, Drew Smith had all kinds of arm problems before Adam ever got here. Rayleigh had a Tommy John. It's just too many injuries. So they have to figure out something, whether it's their protocols, whether it's the way Carlos uses these dudes haphazardly, whether they even care about keeping the guys healthy or not. But they need to be better than this. Now, he from the sort of the inference as I'm reading this and as I watch this, he doesn't like Mendoza. I don't think he liked playing for him. This is embarrassing. This is actually pathetic, pathetic. I would never let this happen if I was on the team last year. At least half of these guys would have blown out. I would have protected these dudes myself. I would had to jump in front of them myself. Unfortunately, there was nobody willing to stand up and talk to Carlos this year. It was just me, I guess. So a little bit of an issue there. If they continue down this path, they're going to be F-U-C-K-E-D. Can't say the word. Fuck. It's just a word, Adam. Don't let anybody. He's trying to get a permanent job at MLB Network, because you cannot injure this many dudes every year. And hopefully this is an actual strategy, because it's freaking pathetic and it's not player friendly. And actually people will catch on. It's funny because they were bragging about keeping people healthy the year before when it had nothing to do with them. So yeah, I'm a little annoyed because, well, who's he saying that they kept healthy the year before? Was it him? You're not a doctor. This guy's not a doctor. What the hell is he talking about? You know, instead of, it's just the one thing see, he still thinks he can play. So he's kind of saying this. He doesn't want to open the veil. He doesn't want to lift the veil. So he's kind of going sort of half measured. Well, who kept the players healthy last year? Was it him? Is he a doctor? Does he have his own medical table that he has the pictures come on? Let me check your arm out. I don't know. I'm a little annoyed because there are guys that should be playing, so it pisses me off. What do you think caused that? It's a combination of things. There's not really any player education going on too much about how to stay healthy. There's a lot of pressure on a lot of guys to play even when they feel a little compromised. I know that from the inside. Now, what does that mean? Again, he's still trying to get a job in MLB as a player. So he's trying to sort of do it half-assed. He doesn't want to say exactly what happened. It's sort of this vagueness. We don't like that. We like people that are straightforward. And then look, the manager. I think he's a really good under the stress manager. I think he has no idea what he's doing when it comes to bullpen guys and how to keep them healthy or even how to care about them at all. There's no communication there. There's no feel there. There's no bedside manner when guys get hurt. I'm going to stop there before I get too fired up. He was basically as bloodless as you could get if he said this. But honestly, they could do so much better than this, and they need to do better. So I'm not going to sugarcoat that too much. They cannot be injuring this many pitchers, especially relief pitchers. There's no excuse for it. Spread it around a little bit in the first half, and maybe you won't blow through all these guys and have a total nosedive in the second half so nobody can get you any outs. And you're relying on a bunch of pitchers that you didn't want on your team, didn't want on your staff in the first place. Now, I want to mention something about Adam Ottavino. Adam, the Mets starters weren't going more than 4 or 5 innings. So the Mets had to go to these guys in the middle of the game. They had no choice. Okay, they had no choice. I'll also mention this. That Daniel Nunez was hurt at the end of 2024. Okay, as I recall. So these guys have all had injuries prior to Carlos Mendoza being here. Okay, that's for certain. Okay, but he doesn't know what the hell he either knows what he's talking about and doesn't want to take it further because he's thinking he wants to get another shot at the show, or he's just a complete total imbecile because you can't be spreading all this stuff around and think that there's no going to be any brushback. Now, most of the media, they'll talk about this, but they won't point out that one, his channel sucks. The audience on there don't really care. He's got 8,000 subscribers on there, but a lot of it's because of the resume. Okay, and that's the one thing about these ex-ball players, folks, is that 99% of them, if not Well, I'll say 95%. 95% don't have the ability to do this on their own. That's why a lot of them have partners. A lot of them have people that are basically the broadcaster. You know, look what's going on with Chris Rose. Chris Rose works for Talking, you know, on the, I guess, John Boy. They hire him as the broadcaster. You know, Adam Ottavino needs like a real broadcaster to work with, the team with them, so they can bounce off things. But you know, he has no talent as a broadcaster. Maybe he could be good, who knows? But hard work. But he's just a guy shooting off. He's mad that he doesn't have a job. He only pitched 1 game for the Yankees this past, or 3 games, whatever it was, for the Yankees this past year. Okay, he's probably pissed off that he can't get a regular job in SNY. He's probably mad that he's not doing regular stuff on MLB Network. He's doing this YouTube channel. Nobody's watching it. And this is how it is. Now, I would mention, I don't care what I say. I'm not holding back. I mean, I would say this about his pitching in the postseason. He had 12 innings pitched in the postseason. He walked 10 batters. So in 12 innings, he pitched 10, walked 10 batters. In the 1 game that he pitched for the Mets in postseason in 2022, he pitched a 1 inning, struggled to get through that inning, gave a hit, 3 walks, and he gave a run. People were cursing. I was cursing him out to take him out of that game because he had no business going into that game. I mean, I knew his reputation with the Yankees about how poorly he pitched for the Yankees in postseason. On the outside, he's a stiff. On the inside, he's scared shitless of any big spot. And you can see this reading this. You know, he won't say the F word. He has to spell it out. You know, he's vague about some of what the players are obviously telling him. The players behind the scenes are telling him stuff. Now, if these players are telling him all this stuff that's going on behind the scenes, Mets should get rid of this whole entire bullpen. Get rid of all the guys. Every player that he mentioned in this thing, they should get rid of everybody. Okay? This is why you have bad teams, folks. Because when these people come in here and they can't get the job done, then they start complaining, start pointing fingers at this guy, that guy, and not taking accountability. And meanwhile, they're going back and telling their friend that they play with, oh, what the hell is going on? And this is clearly what's going on. They don't like Mendoza, the players. This is the one thing that's good about when teams collapse, is you get to learn what the hell is going on behind the scenes. And this is telling me that the guys that are in that bullpen were complaining about how they were being treated. If you feel that way, go into the club, you go into the office and you tell the manager. Or you tell coach. You don't go back to Adam Ottavino and you go and tell him and start complaining to him months after the season's over. That's not right. You know. And then meanwhile, you got Ottavino, who was in that clubhouse the year before, taking shots at the manager. I also would say I was not a happy person because he's a politician. He's one of these players that's a politician. You knew that he was going to go into the media once his career was over. And I was not a happy person that Stearns brought him back in 2024. Because he had an opt-out, he took the opt-out, and the Mets brought him back. They signed him to a new contract. It made 0 sense at the time. You let me know what you think about this video. I'm fired up. That guy's not fired up. Please. I'm going to get all fired up. Oh, please. And again, if the players are complaining like this, you don't want these guys in your clubhouse. If McGill's complaining, get him out of here. Danny Young's complaining, get him the hell out of here. Reed Garrett complaining, get him the hell out of here. We don't need people like this that are on our team complaining and being all pissy about how they're pitching. And they're pitching poorly, you know. McGill, before Tyler McGill got hurt again this past year, he pitched poorly. Which I said that was his pattern. He pitched great in April, rest of the year is up and down as crap. Reed Garrett, same thing, up and down. The last 2 years prior to that, he was terrible in 2023. He was up and down in 2024, got hurt, same thing this year. We know the pattern of these players. We know the pattern. But Ottavino, basically defending them. Dude, are you retired or you're not retired? You laid all the cards down on the table, exactly what's going on in that clubhouse, or you don't get in the middle of it. You don't carry water for your friends. Well, thank you for watching this video. And of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. Hopefully we'll keep an eye and see who else talks about this. I'm the only one to talk about it because I'll take on the players. I don't care. I'm not going anywhere. I'll mention that. I've said that many times. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Light, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host, and welcome back to the Baseball Light. Hopefully, you like this video, and you can get through this video, hopefully. You can tell I got laryngitis, but that's all right. I'm not perfect. Get sick sometimes. Just sort of came up on me all of a sudden today. But I would mention, what will make me feel better is you send me a super thanks from a member of the channel. And we'll get through this. God help me when I get through this. If I don't cough, if I don't I sound like an old lady. And it's terrible. It does sound like Boomer Esiason at this rate. But we talked about Adam Ottavino on Thursday, and he went after Carlos Mendoza, saying that he didn't know what he was doing when it came to the bullpen. And I said in the video that, listen, the Mets had pitchers going into couldn't finish the third inning, the fourth inning, couldn't finish the fifth inning. What was Mendoza supposed to do by bringing in people to get outs, just to get outs? And really, the Mets starting staff is what really just taxed the bullpen and led to so many injuries to guys like Reed Garrett, Max Kranick, who's got non-tendered. Danny Young got hurt. He's non-tendered. That's basically washed their hands of those guys. So he did this live stream the other day, I guess. If you don't know, he has a YouTube channel called Adam Ottavino 0. Well, that's very creative. He has over 8,000 subscribers, and I bring that up because I think he kind of is going off on this scorched earth thing because he wants to bring in people to watch his boring channel. I mean, it's more like gossip talk, really. I mean, he's gossiping about his former teammates. He's gossiping about his former boss. Now, the one thing we learned, just from what I read, I watched the live stream of him talking about Mendoza. He doesn't like him. He doesn't like Mendoza. I think I mentioned in the other videos that Ottavino, when you would put him in a spot, he was like a nervous Nelly. When you need him in a big spot to get big outs, really late in the game, critical game, he would just sort of disappear. Or even if you get him to go in like mop-up duty, either the Mets were winning or losing, he would struggle in a big game. Give me an example. Game 2 of the NL wildcard series against the Padres. I mentioned this the other day. That he struggled to get outs in the ninth inning. I don't remember if Buck pulled him out of the game or the Mets just struggled to get him 3 outs in that inning and then win the game. So, and he has a reputation. The Yankee fans don't like him because of this whole like sort of way he carries himself. And then, he did, what did he do a couple years ago? I think Mendoza took him out last year, if I remember right. And he basically said, "Oh my God," on the mound, if I remember right. He couldn't believe why Mendoza was taking him out of a game when he was struggling to get outs. So he has sort of a prickly, sort of pointing fingers at other people when it comes to him getting outs in an inning. So I don't know if he's going to retire. He pitched this year for the Yankees a little bit, but I don't know if he looks at himself as done or what. But now he's going after one of the more beloved Mets on the team. And this is Brandon Nimmo. This is how desperate this guy is to get super chats, super thanks, get people to become a member of his channel. Because the only reason he has 8,000 subscribers on there is what it says on Baseball Reference. To do a channel, first of all, it's very unprofessional to be doing, especially if you're a player, to be doing this kind of garbage. It's one thing if I do videos on this stuff, I talk about it. It's not, I'm not in the clubhouse. I'm not a teammate. It's very disrespectful. I don't even need to do that. I don't even need to do the Godfather voice. It's very disrespectful. So I guess he kind of looks at it as his career is over in the major leagues. I don't think he really cares. I really don't think he likes Brandon Nimmo either. I think he thinks that Brandon is a phony. which we know that WFM went after him last year. Brandon Tierney went after Brandon Nimmo last year, basically calling him a phony. Brandon is a guy that is an American success story. Okay, his town did not have a high school baseball team. He was on traveling teams his whole life as a kid because they didn't have any teams. None of the schools where he's from in Wyoming had a baseball team. Obviously, that far up north, you're not going to have any baseball teams because everything's football, I guess, and hockey. I don't really know much about that part of the country, but I know that he did not have that. So, and he went from doing these showcases at places like Wrigley Field, and I guess at Coors Field, and he got found. I mean, basically, he got discovered by the Mets. The Mets saw him, and he was the very first draft pick of the Sandy Alderson era. So he's been with the Mets. He's been, we've been his fans. We've been his fans for 15 years. He's been around a long time with the Mets organization. So he's been with the Mets since 2011. The very first pick of Sandy Alderson. This is a very controversial pick because of the fact that he had no background, really. People didn't know much about him. And you see guys that got picked after him, like Jose Fernandez. We know what happened to him. Completely destroyed his life. Literally destroyed his life. I would mention, I shouldn't say this, but I would mention, I thought it was ridiculous when Major League Baseball waxed so poetic about it, when the guy was completely reckless, was doing things he shouldn't have been doing, was drinking, and unfortunately he had an untimely demise. It was all on him. And Major League Baseball did not put out the fact that there was a problem with drugs in Major League Baseball. We saw that with Matt Hart. But anyway, so Brandon's had to deal with this, all going through the minor league system, that he wasn't good enough. He finally gets to the major leagues. People were saying that he wasn't a center fielder. People were saying that he was just a platoon player. And he built himself up to be nearly, and I thought he should have made the All-Star team a couple of times. This is a guy that came very close to being an All-Star. And he's an American success story because now he's on one of the best teams in baseball. He's had some big moments. He had some big moments in postseason last year. He's a very good player, a very good citizen. He's the kind of guy you root for on your team. So a lot of this, in terms of just, he went after Brandon just to go through, before he went through this, there's a lot of it's jealousy. A lot of it is he's more popular amongst the fan base and amongst his teammates than Adam Ottavino is. Adam Ottavino's time in the majors is over. It's done. But Awful Announcing put this out there, and we got quotes from Ottavino. Headline, ex-Mets pitcher reveals Brandon Nimmo confront reporter of a Mets-Yankees roster snub. Nimmo's a very gentle, nice, great human being, but I think he's a little proud of a player. He has a lot to be proud of, okay? This is a guy that has everything to be proud of. Because people like him, people like Ottavino, probably didn't think he would make it this far in the majors with that smile. His demeanor never changes. And he has a lot to be proud of. Being proud is not a bad thing, especially when you worked your ass off to get to the majors and be an everyday player on one of the best teams in the game. Former New York Mets reliever shared a story about Brandon Nimmo on his Baseball and Coffee podcast that just goes to show how closely players monitor their media coverage. So it's called Baseball and Coffee. It's really more gossip and coffee. According to Ottavino, Nimmo confronted SNY's Little Andy Martino. Little Andy. That's one of my better nicknames. In a hallway after he published a hypothetical Yankees-Mets combined roster in 2024 that had Alex Verdugo as a left fielder instead of Nimmo. Well, Little Andy's a moron, There's nothing wrong with being annoyed. Quote, Brandon got pissed when they did a Yankees-Mets team a couple years ago, and Little Andy had Alex Verdugo as the left fielder, not Nimmo. Quote, and quote, Ottavino said, I saw Nimmo go at Andy Martino in the hallway about that, and I was like, damn, you read the paper like that? You care about what the talking heads say that much? That's surprising to me. Little Andy confirmed the confrontation happened, responding to a clip of Ottavino's comments on social media. True story. But Brandon's such a good guy that, of course, we ended up having a great conversation. One of the best players I've covered, little Andy wrote. Again, this guy's trying to embarrass the Mets. He's trying to embarrass one of the better players on the Mets, one of the good guys in the game on the Mets. 3 weeks after his initial Yankees roster, little Andy published a follow-up with the headline, "What kind of idiot picks Yankees Alex Verdugo over Mets Brandon Nimmo?" Now, I'm not going to go through that. It's not important. Ottavino also mentioned Nimmo wasn't thrilled about all the Francisco Lindor's future captain talk. Oh boy. Though he acknowledged that observation was based on limited information from an article he'd read. I mean, this guy's trying to cause all kinds of trouble. Goodness gracious. Nimmo's a very gentle, nice, great human being, but I think he's a little proud of a player. Nimmo's name has appeared in trade rumors this offseason, with the Mets reportedly willing to move him despite his full no-trade clause as they look to create payroll and roster flexibility. Now, I would mention, based on this, I don't want to see the Mets trade Brandon. Out of spite. Out of spite work. Ottavino is a terrible human being. I mean, he's a jerk. He's a jerk. So he is trying to undermine Nimmo in the eyes of the fans. He's trying to undermine Nimmo in front of Francisco Lindor. I know that prior to the 2022 All-Star break, there was all kinds of talks that the Mets were going to name Brandon as captain. That didn't happen. And then they signed him to the big contract in the offseason because they were talking to him in that spring, at the All-Star break. But for Ottavino to interject all this, he said, "Oh, I got the information from one article he read." He's an idiot. This guy's just trying to get clicks. He's trying to get attention for his bad channel. If you go through his channel, folks, he has very little views. And his channel has as many subscribers because of Baseball Reference that he has. The Baseball Reference page that he has. He was a mediocre reliever. I know the numbers don't look bad on the surface, but he was a mediocre pitcher. Okay, he pitched well when the Mets didn't need him to pitch well, and this was his career. This is how he pitched with the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Rockies. Very mediocre reliever, and I was not happy that the Mets brought him back a couple of years ago into going into 24 because I felt that they didn't need him, and they did need him. Okay, I would also mention he was part of that 2023 team that did not play well. So he was also part of the problem, too. He was also part of that team in 2022. You got to understand something. If you are part of the problem with the New York Mets in terms of just, and you're a spare part, all due respect, he's a spare part in your team. And a spare part is running down one of your best players. You have to circle the wagons around your better players. You can't let some middle reliever at the end of his career run down one of your players. You don't do that. And I would say the same thing. I know I've had some issues with Lindor over the years, but Lindor's been great the last 2 years. If he was saying these kinds of things about Lindor, I would hit him just as hard. Like I said, he wants people to watch this bad channel that he has. He's not getting any real traction with SNY. He's not getting any real traction from MLB Network. He's basically next in line. And this YouTube channel, he's trying to be like Trevor May. Trevor May has got a great channel. He was not, I would mention, May was not as good of a player as Ottavino was as a pitcher, but May doesn't run down his teammates, his former teammates. He doesn't throw dirt. He doesn't, he doesn't go after them. This is I said this the other night, this is extremely unprofessional. And this is unnecessary. But for one purpose, and this is only for one purpose, like I said. It's so that you can watch his channel, subscribe to that bad channel. But what's this going to be? I mean, 5 years from now, he's going to be talking about the same stuff when he's long retired in the game? I think he's a bullshit artist. He's a bullshit artist. That's all he is. And you quote me on that. Send the quote out to this middle reliever. This is a mediocre middle reliever, by the way. the great one said that this channel sucks. He sucked as a pitcher. And just go away. Don't say anything bad about people, please. And leave that job up to me. At least I'm funny about it. I got through the video. Thank you. Got the voice sounded a little bit better as we went along here. But I want to know what you think about this thing with Ottavino. And of course, hit the subscribe button. Please send me a super thanks to help me. It'll make me feel better with the cold that I have. Taking care of it. But thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. I'll see you later.